Hello there, and welcome back to episode 16 of The Witcher, Chaos on the Pontar, an actual play podcast by Elsewhere and Beyond, run using the Witcher TRPG by R.Talsorian Games. Last session, the party brought low one of the three Witchers first met at the start of this adventure in the city of Novigrad, revealing to the group that it was more than Radovid's witch hunters who are now hot on their heels. Oda, Gorm, and Vargen, last we left you three were rushing back to the barge, burdened by a worry of a helpless and severely injured mage, Abrava of Lyria. Arthwin, you've been asleep for a little while now, and your senses are always primed and ready to have you reacting at a moment's notice. You're never a deep sleeper, not as a witcher, and a lot of witchers don't even sleep, they meditate, but on this barge you've managed to find a little bit of acclimatized safety, and it doesn't blot out those instincts though. Scuffle upstairs on the deck, instantly your eyes are open, and you swing yourself around on the bed in a reactive manner to get up, and you're in the dark.
First reaction is to reach for my blades.
Mm-hmm. Your swords popped up on the side of beside the bed near the table.
I don't know what the scuffle's about, so I grab both.
And you heft them into a hand, and you head through the gangway on the lower deck, up the stairs, through Sansa's cabin, and you see she is also getting out of her hammock, till she opens the door of the captain's cabin, and out on the deck, you see Gorm. He's stroking Barksley's head. Standing behind him is Oda, and behind her, Vargen. Vargen is not alone either. Held in his hands is a woman, slumped, held close to his chest, and he's carrying her on board. And you recognize her in this dim light. Again, I have to remind myself that you have perfect vision in dim light, and it's Abrava, her hair sweaty and strewn across her face, and you can smell the blood from here. And I have to ask, Oda, did you pull the arrow out? I think you did, didn't you? Or you didn't pull the arrow out, you just stabilized the wound.
I just stabilized the wound. Not going to pull an arrow out on scene. I don't know what it punctured.
So Arthwin, his initial reaction, as he gets up there, sees this, smells the blood, just takes his swords, and you're not supposed to do this, but he does it. He just throws them down, stabs them into the wood of the barge. Just rushes over. Oh, I can't leave you guys alone for a single night. A single night, guys.
No. Look. Gorm got two, and he holds up like a steel sword and a silver sword. Look, Gorm has two now.
And like, Arthwin just eyes the blades and just like, what did I miss, guys? What did I miss?
As you're looking over the scene, however, Vargen, are you going to just keep carrying this body, or like, what's your directive?
Vargen is going to carry her downstairs, where there's more of the medical supplies readily available. And if Oda stops for any reason, he will like bark at her to keep following him.
Oh yeah, Oda just like immediately already gets some stuff out of her pouches and just straight on passes by Arthwin and says, we'll fill you in later. And just like rushes past him. Okay.
Well, it looks like you've got Gorm there to tell you about it, Arthwin. But the two go past down into the deck. Sansa, Oda, Vargen, I'll get some water. I'll get some blankets. What about one of the beds? Just use Gorm's bed. And she comes downstairs with you.
We are not putting her in Gorm's bed.
Okay, well then put her in Arthwin's bed. Just use my hammock if you need to.
The cleanest bed we find.
Yeah, good luck.
Gorm is still just excitedly holding up these two swords and smiling at Arthwin.
Both of the swords, Arthwin, the pommels of your swords have the iconic shape of the bear in both of them, crafted in the Amel Mountains.
Classic, gorgeous.
And these ones are griffins, both of them.
So Arthwin sort of kneels down and examines the swords. Where did you find these? Who did you take them from?
No. We went. Gorm snuck very sneaky, followed after Oda and Vargen, and then there was big spell to keep Misty flowing, and then crazy one-eyed lady and Gorm bashed her and Gorm got swords.
You bashed someone for these.
Yeah. Very crazy lady. Very crazy. Probably works at like brothel.
And Arthwin sort of lets his head drop backwards in a sort of a mixture of exasperation and frustration. Gorm, have we met this woman before?
No. Gorm never seen this woman before. But she know Vargen. I think maybe like a wife, maybe like very angry at Vargen.
And Arthwin is attempting to go through the relatively short list in his head of witchers that he may have come across in the past.
I mean, witchers aren't somebody you can say, oh, they patrol in Bredania, and then these three always stay in Temeria. That's just not what witchers do. They go where the work is, and they come in such flavors. However, a female witcher is a lot more rare than a male witcher. And you can go ahead and roll me your witcher training.
All right. Let's do it.
25. The name that comes to mind is Astrid Blindeye. And she is a crazy woman, or at least she was. And she's a Griffin Witcher, though she hasn't flown that banner in some time. And she's known for being a relentless hunter. Relentless. And enjoys the sport of the chase more than the killing. And has more enemies than she has friends. Very proficient and extremely capable with her signs as well. She can do things with them that some other witches could only dream of.
Is this someone that I would have met at any point?
Honestly, I don't feel like Arthwin's the sort of person that would forget that. And I would say it's more case of like knowing of her rather than of having met of her. Yeah.
It's definitely not someone that he would associate with.
No.
So he sort of pieces it together and he looks at Gorm and he goes, and you bashed this woman.
She was very mean.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And is she dead?
Woman in river now.
Arthwin sort of peeks over the side of the barge and just sort of shivers. Right, well, it's better that she's in the river than she be after us.
Look, Gorm has cool swords! And he just kind of waves them around.
Sharp as a razor, both of them.
Can I hold on to these, Gorm? For you, just on your behalf.
Oh,
so you don't...
But Gorm needs to trade for other silver weapon. Gorm not so good with swords.
We'll find you some more silver weapons.
Oh, okay. You take good care of them, okay?
And Arthwin sort of reaches over and just very carefully accepts the swords.
Gorm will hand them over.
In a pace of which I'm sure Arthwin will choose as we move into this next scene, he is now free to come downstairs or stay up there as he wills. But right now, down below, holding the body, oh my god, holding Abrava, because she's not dead, holding Abrava, Vargen, you open the door and the two of you go into the room that Gorm and Arthwin stay in. And actually, does anyone instinctively open the window for some air?
It smells of Gorm's farts or something.
Abrava's like, kill me. You lay the woman down in the bed, and even though you stabilize her wound, you already notice that there's patches of blood being transferred onto the materials and the linens. Sansa, there's kind of like a grim look on her face, and she has a candle in her hand. That is really bad.
Which is why we need to start fixing this immediately.
Now that you are out of danger and threat, we can now look at doing some real proper healing.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that I wanted to do was just check the wound, see how, like if I can remove the arrow at all safely, or if I have to actually be a little bit surgical about it, maybe.
The arrow, when you look at the back of the shoulder, is very deep. You can work out just by knowing arrows and being around Vargen's tools of war. You know that this thing is going to have to be pushed straight through. Pulling this out at this point is going to cause horrific damage.
Right, so we kind of like, do you mean like break off the end and then...
It's going to be excruciating.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to need assistance, but you have Vargen there, so...
So I say this to Vargen. First of all, we need to hold her still. Maybe I can do something to suppress the pain. And she just starts like mumbling to herself a little bit, like her thoughts out loud.
So the DC for this is going to be 16.
Okay.
If you fail this check, you will not get another opportunity for some weeks. She will have to deal with the ramifications of what's left from the failure, if she survives.
You're making this very hard on us, Leo.
I am. I'm a very, very hard GM. But I think Mats was talking something about blessings or something of the sort.
Yeah, I think there was someone was talking about some blessing stuff.
Oda's eyes like cross with Vargen's. I think I'm going to need your help, as much as you can give.
Then you shall have it. So he's going to call upon the blessing of the Crow Mother, trying to help her to give her some insight as to where she should not or should push and pull.
Okay. How much stamina are you putting into that?
5 minus 4, so it'll be on you for 5 hours.
And what does it do again?
If you crit fail, you reroll.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, well, the way that Healing Hands works, so with magical healing, you have to roll magical healing like it says here, like 8 times, which is very dangerous. But Healing Hands / the old ways, you wait the turns and then you do the roll at the end. You guys hastily get away at preparing her, moving away sheets, blankets, Sansa getting you materials that you need, and then Oda, you know that it's a case of pushing this arrow through and stitching the wound. And making sure that everything that starts bleeding gets sealed as quickly as possible. So I would like you to make your Healing Hands check. Your old ways.
I'm going to use 2 luck. Oh, 29. Okay.
A very good roll, and a crit no less, so that's brilliant. Well, you two work tirelessly to push the arrow through, and Oda, you're left, dealing with the bleeding, using your herbs, your poultices, and stitching up her wound. The sounds she makes, the screams that fill the ship, will be heard from bow to stern. And she has a lot of sweat on her. Her hair is soaked. The blood on the sheets soaks as well. It's a horrifying, grisly sight. But considering how well you rolled, I will also reduce the time it takes for her to recover from that by a couple of days.
In the instant that Oda shoves down on the arrow, a very confused Bear Witcher hurriedly enters the room, and his nose has splashed with a little bit of blood.
Oh!
He just winces for a second, and walks right into the room to rest the swords in the corner, and he keeps an eye on the happenings. Very impressed with Oda's healing skills.
Well, you're there for about 10 minutes, as Oda works very, very quickly. I mean, guys, there are no blood transfusions in this world. You work quickly or your patient will die. Blood on both, like, Vargen's hands, Oda's hands. You guys look like you've just been in triage surgery.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have, technically.
Gorm will come along too and, hand Oda another... she has another little vial of sterilizing fluid and some clotting powder.
Well, you mean well to bring that in, but the problem is Barksley has run on ahead and he's heard screaming and he's terribly worried. And he's pushing past and he turns the door and Sansa is really struggling to keep him away, like, get Barksley, no, Fluffy, could you go on? And she's trying to push the dog as the dog's trying to push her back into the room.
Oh, but Barksley, stop. You go lay down, Barksley. It's not a good time to be Barksley.
Barksley listens to you heading off into the lower deck in the mess hall. And you get did you say it was sterilizing fluid?
And
numbing
powder.
Clotting powder. Well, the clotting powder isn't going to be much use at this point because Oda's already sorted the bleeding out.
Surgery's already happened, yeah. There is one thing that I would still like to do. Actually, Arthwin and Vargen are in the room, or is everyone in the room now?
Everyone's in the room now. Like, Gorm stood outside the room. Sansa's out there as well. But yeah, the 3 of you are inside.
Is Carpet Lady okay?
I hope she will be. We will have to find out how she is over the coming days. And Oda extends her hand to Vargen's arm and just gives him a, appreciative squeeze.
She will need rest and quiet. And so begins to usher the rest of the people out of the room to not crowd it.
Well, you're now able to take a step back, Vargen, just shuts the door with a little clip of the lock, or not the lock, but the latch. You can feel that very gentle rocking of the boat moored here in the harbour. One thing that is on your mind, guys, it's just after midnight at this point, and you all know that in the morning you need to be getting to the fog just as dawn strikes, when the sun is before it comes over the hills. Of course, it's important to talk, but so is getting at least, 6 hours of sleep. If you don't sleep at all, that is fine, but I will penalize you.
The Bear Witcher stands in the hallway in just his linens, basically. And he looks exasperated at the gang. So, he gestures over to the chairs in the sort of mess area. Does anyone care to tell me, how did we end up here?
Well, in case that we are going to talk, let us move somewhere else, because I have something to do. And Oda grabs one of the sort of like sheet things that, what's her face?
Abrava?
No, the other one.
Sansa?
Sansa, that Sansa gave her.
The other one.
Sorry, names are hard, okay. That Sansa gave her, and just like cleans her, starts kind of like wiping off her hands as she just nods to the hallway and moves.
Can I just point out one thing whilst you're all kind of coming down? You have noticed that Vargen has a bit of a limp.
Oh yeah! Well,
It's like you look down and there's this spongy blood-like color on his boot.
I haven't even pulled out the arrow.
Yeah. Oh, what? It's more than just the spongy red of his boot. There is an actual arrow shaft hanging out his freaking
So
calf.
he swings off the large cape he was borrowed, and then it just an arrow shaft jutting out of the thigh.
Oh, the thigh. Yeah, the thigh. Yeah, it's just arrow in his thigh.
It was somewhere in the leg.
Somewhere in the leg. Whatever. Left leg.
I think that Oda immediately pauses in her step as she's moving towards the hallway again, looks at the arrow, looks at Vargen, looks at the arrow. Okay, you have to sit down right now.
Because I'm not medically minded, we're going to assume that if you make a first aid check to fix this, you're just filling everyone in. You guys are all chatting about what happened, informing Arthwin, which we will do in a second. And I don't have to use any medical jargon that I don't actually understand.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that will also activate your recovery healing tonight, Vargen, when you take a rest.
Oh, nice.
So we will say then, you find all somewhere to sit, and Oda, you begin to work on Vargen's leg.
Gorm is sitting on a little stool at the table.
Arthwin just marches over to one of the stools here by the table on the lower deck and just plops down. Just puts his hands on his knees and just looks at between everyone. Well?
My father knows the most of what was going on tonight. She looks at him pointedly.
I'm fairly certain we told you what we were going to do after you were headed to the boat. We were going to assist the sorcerer with her spell.
And we did.
How'd that work out?
It was a lot of trials, tribulations to get there, and we got ambushed. There's a lot of a restraint to his expression all of a sudden, where he's trying to remain civilized to some degree. He clearly has a lot of much less kind things he'd like to mention about the woman.
Astrid. One eye.
But fortunately, Gorm bashed her brains out.
Her brains were actually out. She is dead.
First her neck twisted, and then he hit her again on the ground.
Very dead.
Arthwin sort of nods.
And then Gorm threw her in the river.
That he did.
And he looks at Gorm just as well. Heard tales of this woman, and she's not someone that we want after us.
Oh, no. She only coming back as drowner now.
Gorm, that's not how it works, but...
No.
But yeah...
There was other things that happened too. Such as the daughter and the father. He looks pointedly back to Oda, where Oda assisted, saving a life. Though at some risk to ourselves. He doesn't give her any judgment in the next look. He more like a small approving nod that it was the right thing to do.
Arthwin looks over at Oda and can't help but to smile a little bit. He can't suppress the soft grin that comes across his face. She makes a habit of that, it seems.
Oda folds her arms kind of across her chest. I'd personally very much like to know why a Witcher was assaulting us in the first place.
You suddenly hear a thud, and Gorm's head kind of falls on the table, and he just starts snoring lightly, like...
I grab one of the blankets and just kind of fold it over him, drape it across his shoulders.
The Witcher peers at his cute little friend, and he twists his head. He sort of cocks it to the side, and he stares for a second, then he looks back at the other and goes, "How does he do that? It's almost impressive."
He definitely showed his feats of strength tonight. He must be exhausted.
Fluffy just approaches into the room with a little sack barrel, and he gives you all a small wave to just make his presence known. "Don't worry, I'll deal with it." And he pops Gorm's feet at the bottom of the sack barrel and leans him back, so he falls into it. And it's very soft. He's like, "I'll get him to an hammock." And then he just kind of wheels Gorm down the aisle in this sack barrel and just whistling to himself gently as he just takes...
I have history with Astrid, the Blind. About a decade ago, she came to the Skelligan Isles, trying to hunt down a prey. He sort of begins to go a little bit visibly dim in his expression, as if remembering something very bitter. She goaded us for quite a while, the typical hearsay, swearing, cursing. You've already seen how utterly mad she is. When she found out she could not take on the circle on her own, she began spreading even more lies among the population. Of witchcraft, curses, disease. And up until some point, enough people believed it, and there was a battle. She stole something of mine, and she lost her eye. But she managed to chase her off.
She was after the clan?
She was after the child. Young Nida. He gets another distant expression in his eyes. But she's dead now. So to that, Gorm, he smiles and shakes his head and just wordlessly mouths out "thank you" to him.
Let us hope that now at least this woman doesn't find peace with the Crow Mother.
We can hope. But what of you? How have you fared? And he sort of gestures towards the injury that Oda so expertly treated.
Which is now patched up.
You faced a Witcher, and a talented one at that. And you came away with a single arrow?
It was surprisingly quick.
She underestimated Gorm, and that was her downfall.
Again, something people seem to be making a habit of.
Her signs, at least one of the ones she used, seemed a lot more aggressive in use than yours.
The School of the Griffin are known for their expertise with signs, but the stories I've heard of this particular Witcher suggest that she takes that to an almost sadistic extreme. I can't imagine the sort of power she wielded against you, but I'm very glad that Gorm was there, and that you're alright.
So am I.
Are you alright? He asks very pointedly now that Gorm is no longer in the room.
Oda solemnly nods. Though, if you do not mind, there is something I would like to get to for a little while. I want to move to the alchemy set in the
magical crow's nest. Okay, well, Oda departs the table. I'm just going to ask you two, because we're going to transition scene soon. Is there anything else you two would say when she leaves? Or are you going to sleep? Or, I mean, Arthur, you can pretty much, close your eyes whenever you want.
I mean, It's not like I can go lie down in my bed.
No.
Yeah, no. So Arthwin is just gonna he stands up with her and then just finds a quiet corner of the lower deck to just have a kneel.
As opposed to after he deposits the books that we got for even more diagrams, the journal.
So you'll go with Oda then to the crow's nest. So Arthwin goes to sleep, Gorm's asleep, and you two are going to the crow's nest. You power up the globe, and you pass through the portal into the crow's nest.
Oda has like just momentary shiver across her spine, you know, as she walks into the crow's nest, just recollecting the space and
Flashback.
earlier, flashbacks. Before she just begins setting out various pieces of the alchemy set.
What are you going to make? Or at least should I ask, what are you working toward?
I would like to use homebrew to make a healing charm for Aberva.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Homebrew is another unique skill to the witch. A homebrew profession you can download over on our website, elsewhereandbeyond.com. So reading out then, it goes a little like this. The witch can create magical tonics, poultices, and special balms by rolling homebrew against a DC 16. Brewing takes 1 hour, which requires a number of unique alchemical substances as listed on the tonic, poultice, and balm tables. In order to craft a homebrew, the witch must be able to access an alchemy set, which you have. Okay, can you make that check for me then?
Okay. I'll use a point of luck then. 19.
19. So the item you're crafting then with homebrew, this is the healing poultice. Mm-hmm. Would you read that out, please?
Once applied to an affected area for no less than an hour, reduces the healing time of a wound by 1 day. Repeat applications do not stack.
And how many unique substances?
3.
3. So what you would need to do is pick one of vitriol, rabbits, like pick 3 out and reduce them. It has to be one of each that's not the same. And if you mark those off, in that case, Vargen, as you're placing the book into the room, checking everything's okay there, I don't know if you leave her working or you stay, but you can see that Oda has whipped out this set. I believe you actually had a +2 on that roll as well, because that alchemy set
it's a
has a +2 on it.
Yeah. Oda falls into this almost like calm concentration, as if this is something she can really set her mind to for a while, just while she thinks quietly to herself. And I mean, I imagine it's a lot of like smooshing up herbs with a mortar and pestle and like tying, maybe it's like a charm, right? So she's tying some like knots things together, and
it's definitely not scientific. Like there's no distilling, there's just a single like receptacle, and there's lots of too much of that, and then a little more of this. It's the typical classic potion making.
Pouring a substance from one bottle into another and then pouring it back and it changes color.
Whoops. She'll be fine.
Puff of smoke.
I mean, unless there's anything else you two want to say, you would apply that and then get some rest.
Yeah, I was just going to deposit the book before heading off to bed.
Yeah.
All locked away, and Vargen's the last one out and closes up the portal, and you guys get some rest.
If in case it wasn't clear, I'm going to pop that under Aberva's pillow.
For some of you then, Oda and Vargen, barely 4 or so hours pass. A faint glow of light spells the dawning of a new day only a short while away behind the horizon. And Arthwin, the man aboard who's probably had the most rest, you are the first to wake. As for the others, Gorm, you and Arthwin lost your room for the injured Aberva. I imagine you probably took a hammock?
Gorm is just like struggling a bit to get out of the hammock. It's like, just kind of swinging it back and forth to try and get enough, like turning it enough so he can just flop out of it.
Vargen's just rummaging around for something of calorific, of calorie value.
You say when you eat something that's just really heavy calorific. Like, that's calorific.
He stuffs like a lump of sourdough bread in his mouth. He's just like eating, like after, restoring, gonna heal yourself.
Sustenance.
Arthwin, you are the first to kind of really start going up above board through Sansa's cabin and onto the deck. And immediately you're met by Captain Stannart, who stood not far from the mast in the middle of the deck. What do you mean you're busy? Get on board now. We're here on official business to speak to them. I don't know, sir. What What if no one's there to let them in? Maybe the door closed on them. Oh, what are you talking about? Get on. And he turns to see Arthwin, and this captain is arguing with his men to come on board, and they're just finding reasons not to.
Amazing.
Stanart turns and he just looks you directly in the eye and goes, I am dealing with incompetence today.
Arthwin steps onto the deck to meet the captain's gaze, adjusting his outfit, getting ready for the day. He looks at him and says, "Do not be mad with them, Captain. Their incompetence, as you so finely put it, is on us."
Confused, he shakes his head, has no idea what that means. But he continues to say, I'm not here for long, just a message. Lord Bale would like to meet you this morning before you leave. I believe you were investigating at dawn? The fog? Before you do, head up to the guardhouse if you would, please. He is meeting you outside of the castle itself.
I shall relay the message. I'm sure we'll be able to make the trip.
Within the next few moments, if you could, please. All right, men, let's go. And he turns around, and one of the other men, there's only a few handful with him, are like, oh, thank God, because I was getting super itchy. I felt itches all over me. He kind of goes down the gangplank, and they kind of stride on up into the settlement itself. Oda's enchantments very much holding.
Yeah, so Arthwin just turns on his heel and heads back down to inform the others. We've been invited to meet with Lord Bale before we head out.
What's a Lord Bale? Who that?
Someone who thinks he's more important than the rest here.
Oh. Let's go say hi.
Not that we have much of a choice.
I was about to say, nevertheless, I suggest we accept the invitation. And he turns around and just strides on out, expecting everyone else to follow.
Anyone stay behind?
No, Gorm's gotten dressed. He's gonna follow.
No.
Before we leave, I'd like to give us all guidance for the day, so maybe someone don't say something that we absolutely shouldn't.
Very well. I imagine you're going to do this somewhere in the boat that isn't like crammed, so that people can come forward to you one person at a time, and you're not like going to just like create a chain reaction where everyone explodes together if you do fail. So I believe if you want to do one for yourself as well, that would be 4 castings you'll need to do for me.
Yeah.
1 on you, successful. 18, 19 on Oda, successful. 16 on Gorm is successful, and the final one is 19 again. Very consistent.
Nice.
19 again on Arthwin. You all for when I start saying afternoon, it's worn off. Okay, it's just easier that way. So if you fumble, you can re-roll it one more time, and then the blessing ends.
Sick. Before we just leave, I wanted to ask you a question. The Griffin swords. Is there anything obviously special about them other than the fact that
They're exactly the same. Stats, weight, ability, everything. They're all the same.
Except mine look nicer because there's a bear on them.
Obviously. I mean, is water wet, Arthur?
Yeah.
Obviously.
You guys are all heading on to the settlement to go and meet this Merrick Bale. Well, for the sake of brevity, because there's a lot to get through today, I'm going to say you arrive outside the gatehouse, and Captain Stanart already directs you in this turret that's connected to the side of the main gate, leading into the main temple and castle itself. It's a very small, cramped space. There's a round table in the middle of the room, shelves and cabinets all around where supplies are kept. It's a gatehouse. That's all it is. Across from the table appears a rather skittish and cowardly-looking man. A man in his late 30s, scraggly beard, long hair with grey streaks already starting to come through. You would suppose from looking at him and his gaunt cheeks and darkened eyes that this is a man that is going grave more from stress and worry than he is from natural aging. And he's dressed in refined clothing. He's a nobleman through and through. He doesn't even carry his own weapon. And in front of him is a small bowl of roasted chicken and potatoes and a goblet of wine next to him. Please, sit down, please. Please sit down, all of you. Come on, sit down. Haven't got all day, I'm a busy man.
The Witcher strides in first and silently finds a seat, just plopping down, keeping eye contact.
Gorm is gonna hop up and sit next to Arthwin.
Vargen is probably the last to go and sit down. Like, he'd much rather stand. That much is clear.
It's more the ego of the man who is sat and wants other people to sit with him. That's more the gesture he gives off. And Oda, you make your way in as well.
Absolutely. Sit down.
Right. Okay. So, that chicken is gorgeous. Bit of salted chicken in the morning. Brilliant, isn't it?
Gorm loves salted chicken.
Oda actually gives a little bit of a look of despise at that.
He catches it, but he doesn't question you. He instead, and this is something I need to point out about him, he never really gives you eye contact, Oda. He's more interested in speaking man to man.
Yeah.
There is an air of misogyny just absolutely drenched in him.
I don't like this man. Ew.
Full stomach before a day of work. Right. Oh, so you're probably wondering why you're before my presence. Well, I have news that two of you last night, and a dog, but now that I think about it, you three, made your way across the bridge with the mage, is that correct? And you pushed the mist back, am I mistaken?
Who are you?
I am Lord Merrick Bale. I am currently in charge of the stewardship of this castle until Lady Lavalette returns. It's down to me to keep the people happy and to ensure the safety of the castle. For Temeria, of course.
But everyone's really sad.
Oh, dear. He looks to Vargen or to Arthwin now. So am I right in understanding that is the case? You passed towards the mist and left unscathed?
Unscathed? No. He's going to lift his leg up for the table and show the bloodied bandages around it.
Oh, that's nasty. I hope you keep it.
That is...
Well, I am. And he just absolutely ignores any pipe up from Oda. Any kind of beginning words of, well, actually, no, or you were about to say, he just plows on Oda.
Oda's look on her face gets increasingly more annoyed.
Well, I understand that you are making more progress than anyone else has. I have a bargain for you, an idea, a deal, we could call it. And Captain Stannart takes a step out. He rolls his eyes to himself and just stands guard at the door, which is slightly ajar. Not closed, just slightly ajar.
When you're so just tired of someone, you have to leave the room to let out an eye roll.
At Witcher, yes. I didn't catch your name. Witcher.
Arthwin.
Leaned into the table a little bit, making this more about you and him. When you crossed the bridge, do you think you could pass into the fog?
Arthwin gives him he maintains direct eye contact. The disapproval almost clear, just obvious. He can't help but grin slightly, and he leans to the side, gestures with a thumb at Oda and says, "She knows a lot more about it than I do."
His face pales, more gaunt than it was before. Oh.
You a problem with that, sir?
I don't make a habit of speaking with sorceresses.
Then I have nothing to say to you.
Wait. And then he does turn to look at you a little bit. He's got a bit of a tremor in his hand, and you see a bead of sweat come down his brow. Wait. Fine. Well, I wanted to ask, do you think you'd be able to go into the fog?
We don't know.
Captain Stannart there says that it seems thinnest in the morning, and I remember that bitch, what was her name? Brova. Oh, foul woman.
You mean the one that has been stopping this mist every single life to not only save you, but your people as well?
That's your word and her word against the people. I have suspicion it is her fog.
Oh, truly? Is that why it calls out your name every single night?
He takes a deep breath and swallows hard and sits back in his chair. He places both of his arms down on the armrests and he grips at them tightly with his hands, flexing his pathetic knuckles and then letting them crack with the tension for a second.
Oda squints at him.
I don't know what you've heard about that, but I can tell you it's all sorcery against me. I'm going to offer you a deal, as it seems we should get straight to the point, young lady. Palpatine just like slipped straight in there. I don't know if anyone else heard that.
Do it.
When you go over there, no matter what you find, or what you have to say, you do it in the name of the Lavalette family, and you do it in my name as Lord Bale, that I got you all here to do this deed, and I will make sure that you see riches that you couldn't possibly imagine. You can pick whatever you want from the armory.
Then
I will load up your pathetic little barge with as much food and water as you need. And money. Do you like money, little girl? He's leaning forward now and his arm is on the table and he's just glaring across to Oda, as it seems that she's the leader. She's this person that he must speak to, and so be it.
She gives him a deadpan look, like she's clearly not intimidated by his little girling. It is not money I am after, or any of us for that matter, but we'll welcomely accept it. However, we need access to your temple.
He finally grins. He has leverage that you need. Which you would only get with my permission. These doors wouldn't open until winter of next year, had it my way.
Unfortunately,
What?
the woman who's been holding back the mists every night that are seemingly coming after you is currently unable to stop them at the bridge every night, so...
What? What are you talking about? What have you done to her?
All I'm saying is that you need us more than we need you.
Maybe we just should leave and let mist come over whole town.
Perhaps. Not a bad idea, Gorm.
Both of you make me an intimidation check together, and I will take the highest roll as the one that goes through.
Oh boy, we are so not like intimidation people.
14.
14 from Gorm. 15. So 15 is the one I'll take. Don't forget that I fought in a war. My men fought in a war, he says, as he looks forward and nods his head. I've seen all kinds of atrocities. I think one less sorceress is something less I have to deal with. Sure, disappear then, I guess, and let the fog come. I'll be fine. I'll be fine indeed.
Is that what you think the name calling means? Is that you're the only one exempt? I'd be quicker to assume the opposite.
These walls are very thick. Good luck going through those. And he stands up.
I've yet to meet a wall that can contain fog.
My men are very skilled. I can see that this...
Skilled enough to contain fog? And he sort of stands up.
I will simply just have to make ulterior plans, won't I? If it's me, as you say, it's saying its name, then me being here is part of the problem. I will see to a new station. A lovely town, maybe go south. I can see...
South. Of course, south, where the fog never comes.
What do you want me to say, Witcher?
I want you to realize the position you are in, Lord Bale. You are not here entreating us to help you with a small issue. This is not a problem that will just be brushed under the table, whether we stay or whether we go.
Fine, you make a point. You, your runty little girl, that little gross piece of fur, and I'm Gorm! Fine, you all make a point, you disgusting peasants. Sort it out, do what you want, I'll give you the money and I'll let you enter the temple. Don't let it be said that Lord Bale does not reward those that do good deeds for Temeria.
Oh, it's gonna be so dangerous and we're gonna need those weapons you talked about. Can I use cover the cost for that?
Yeah, you definitely can. You can definitely cover the cost.
It can certainly be said about Lord Bale that he values his life, at least. And he sort of curtly nods at him as Gorm speaks.
He doesn't seem to want to make eye contact on that. That's some personal reflection he's not yet ready to align with.
21 on cover the cost.
I could give you 400 bonus crowns now. I don't know what you're going to be able to buy with it, but you're going to have it. And then you could get the rest when you succeed. You're not coming in the armory, not yet. You don't need it. You're probably well geared.
No.
So he has a couple of bags of coin brought in, and you guys get 400 up front. The total is going to be 1,200 by the time this finishes.
Oh, so we get 100 crowns each now.
At the beginning, yeah. So you will get 100 up front straight away to cover your costs in a town that's devoid of supplies or anything to sell.
Arthwin sort of turns towards Gorm and gives him a smile, and he says, "Very well done." And he sort of whispers, "There's not a lot of things here for us to purchase. What do you say we offer him a slight discount if he would share some of that food that he has with the people?"
Oh, that's a good idea. You do that. Okay, you give food to people instead, Bale man.
Do you understand if we don't ration out the food, which we are doing, we will be overrun? Do you understand what giving a piece of bread to somebody right now would do? They would fight for it in the streets. You clearly are not politicians. You do not know these things.
No, you give 2 pieces of bread.
The Witcher walks up forward, he grabs the plate of chicken, and he holds it up right in front of the Lord's face, and he says, "We are not asking you to give." And he holds up one of the pieces of the bags of coins. He says, "We are purchasing the food from you and asking you to hand out the food for us. That's all we're doing." And he pushes the coin bag back.
Fine. Some fish or something. Something that was going to spoil anyway.
Make sure it is edible and nutritious enough.
You wait, though, Witcher. I'm warning you. This will turn them ravenous into the monsters they are.
Yeah, he puts the chicken plate down. They are the monsters. And he turns on his heel and he walks out.
Yeah, oh, I like this, Arthwin.
Leaving that tower behind then, and that awful man with it, I think that's a good point to bring today's session to a close. Be sure to join us for episode 17 of The Witcher, Chaos on the Pontar. Until next time, bye-bye.